Hello, everyone. In this video, let's talk about the role of marketing communication and the marketing process. You can think of marketing communication as the brand's voice. It's more than just giving out information about the brand, it's also the foundation of how a brand engages and interacts with its consumers. This communication acts as a bridge and that connects what a brand represents with what consumers care about. Marketing communication plays a central role in building relationships with consumers, and it does this by creating trust and loyalty through consistency. Imagine the way you get to know a friend, for example. The more you interact with that friend, the more you will build trust. So, similarly, when brands maintain a consistent message across various media channels, consumers start to view the brand as familiar and as dependable. Over time, this familiarity translates into loyalty, where consumers feel a connection to the brand and are more likely to choose it over other competitors. Additionally, marketing communication is not just about reaching out externally. It also serves as an internal alignment tool within the company. When everyone in a company understands the brand's voice and its mission, it helps teams stay aligned and unified in how they represent the brand. This cohesion is particularly crucial for maintaining a clear and consistent brand image. So ultimately, effective marketing communication is a strategic effort to build long term relationships. It's about fostering trust, loyalty, and in the long run, customer retention. As we go through this presentation, we'll look at each element of creating and managing these connections and focusing on how they contribute to effective brand communication. Now, let's take a closer look at the communication process by examining both the macro model of communication and the micro model of marketing communication. These models help us understand how messages move from the brand to the consumer and how consumers interact with those messages on different levels. Starting with the macro model of communication, this model outlines the basic flow of communication, focusing on how a message is created, how it is delivered, and how it is received. It starts with the sender who encodes the message, deciding on the content, the tone, and the style that best communicates the sender's goal. The message then travels through a medium, which can be, for example, TV, social media, or even an email. And this medium allows it to reach the receiver or the target audience. Once the receiver interprets or decodes the message, they provide feedback to the sender based on their reaction, which might involve engagement, purchase, or some other type of response. Throughout this communication process, there exists noise, which are like competing messages or distractions that can interfere with how the message is received by the receiver. This macro model framework helps brands ensure that their message is crafted and delivered in a way that minimizes distortion or noise, and thus reaching the receivers or the target audience, or basically our consumers, in a clear manner. Now let's move on to the micro model of marketing communication, which delves into how individuals respond to a brand's message on a psychological level. This model highlights that consumers often move through stages in their response to a message, which are cognitive, affective, and behavioral. The cognitive stage involves awareness and learning. For example, a brand might launch an ad introducing a new eco friendly car. The consumer's initial response is cognitive, where they learn about the car's features and benefits, like its low emissions or its fuel efficiency. The next stage is the affective stage, and this is where the consumer develops emotions and attitudes toward the product. For instance, the ad might depict the car in a scenic, clean environment, which can evoke positive feelings in the target audience about the product's environmental benefits. This stage, the affective stage, is crucial for building a positive emotional connection with the brand, and it often leads consumers to prefer this brand over others. Finally, there is the behavioral stage, where consumers are prompted to take action, like visiting the dealership or scheduling for a test drive of that car in the ad. Effective marketing communication uses calls to action to encourage this behavioral stage or to encourage action by the target audience in the behavioral stage. And thus, this turns interest into actual behavior. The micro model of marketing communication also accounts for variations in this sequence. For example, in high involvement products like expensive items such as electronics. Consumers often follow a learn, feel, do sequence. Again, this is a learn, feel, do sequence where they gather information first, develop an opinion, and then they take action. Because the item to be purchased requires high involvement from the consumers. It could be because the item is expensive, for example. But for low involvement products such as convenience items or, grocery items, a do feel learn sequence, again, a do feel learn sequence may be more common because consumers act first, then they develop a feeling and later rationalize their decision. And again, this is specific to low involvement products or products that do not require a large amount of thinking by the consumer. Or they could also be products that are not so expensive. Both the macro model and micro model of communication help brands design messages that resonate at each stage, guiding consumers from initial awareness to emotional engagement and finally to action. By understanding these models, marketers can create campaigns that effectively move consumers through these stages, adapting the message to different products and audiences.